Page 21 of the 51-page Green Party of New Brunswick policy manual, which you can get online anytime at the Green Party New Brunswick website. Section 4.9, public transport. It says, the Green Party would, a green government would, incentivize the use of public transportation in all spheres of society through economic policies that benefit users of public transportation and promote a combination of public transportation with bicycling and walking and fully subsidized, publicly owned municipal public transportation. And then section 4.9.4, within that section, a green government would establish an integrated provincial public transportation system, including rail, to offer efficient and economical green alternatives to transit by car and plane. And number 4.9.5, develop a comprehensive plan for the considers its social and environmental impacts and how it could create jobs in transportation, planning, marketing, ICT, engineering, and manufacturing. Like I say, this is what a green government would do, and we are looking at the Dillon Consulting report that came out of the Rural Links bus plan that didn't exactly fly due to very low ridership, which made us have to look around for other alternatives. Today, I want to talk about Charlotte Dial-A-Ride, which the report did focus on as one of the key solutions to public transit. So one of the reasons why the bus system did not work as well was because of that first and last mile challenge. Basically what that means is someone has to get to the bus station and then from the bus station either to their destination or back to their home. It's not door-to-door service. That is a challenge for people with mobility issues and things like that. And this is where Charlotte Dial-A-Ride comes in and fills that need to absolute perfection so well. Now, if you're not familiar with Charlotte Dial-A-Ride, you need to be, and I, for far too long, was not. I mean, I knew about it, it was nebulous, but I knew some taxi services had started to fly in St. Stephen. They'd start up and then they'd stop, they'd start up and then they'd stop. And I was wondering, is Charlotte Dial-A-Ride one of these taxi services? It is not. Charlotte Dial-A-Ride has been around since 2005. It is a pioneer in this model of phoning in and 48 hours in advance. So that is, again, it's not all things to all people. I'm going to describe what it does really well and what some of the gaps are and how two other services in Saint Croix can and do fill those gaps really well. So you need to be a member for Charlotte Dial-A-Ride. It costs $5 a month or $60 a year. There are 100 in 2019. In 2019, the 2020 the Dillon Consulting report said that there were 185 members of Charlotte Dial-A-Ride. Now you pay in $5 a month or $60 a year, and then your ride is $4 or $10 one way, depending on distance within Charlotte County. And so in order to be a member, one must have a disability or be within a low income cutoff. And so you have to demonstrate the need. You have to have no permanent access to a vehicle. So those are the stipulations. It really is focusing on more vulnerable populations, as I said, seniors with mobility issues, people who need to get to medical appointments. They do go to St. John, but for medical appointments only. That is why Charlotte Dial-A-Ride was so excited about the Rural Links bus system, because, as they said, a lot of those rides, which would cost $40 or $50, same as the bus, but door to door, a lot of their time and drivers were taken up by driving the odd person to St. John, and they would rather bring that person to the bus. So that is what the service looks like. In order to get around, like I say, you need to be a member for $4 to $10. It is an incredibly important service for people who are vulnerable. We do have that on offer in Charlotte County. Currently, the drivers are volunteers, though. There are 2 paid staff members as dispatchers, so the people who pick up the phone when you coordinate, but it does take some forward planning, and so it's not a taxi service. And as I said, I couldn't become a member of this service. I'm a one-car family, but I wouldn't be able to become a member of this service. I'm not sure how strict the gatekeeping is, but it is not intended for a family like mine. It is intended for somebody who needs to get groceries, medical appointments, and doesn't have typical access to a car. That said, the report did say that this is the kind of service that is very important to the community. Right now, as I said, Charlotte Dial-A-Ride depends on volunteers and depends on grants. So they apply for grants to get the funding they need. Remember, there is no business case to be made for public transportation. No one is getting rich off of this, and that is why it is the incredible work of the wonderful volunteers who choose to drive folks and essentially volunteer for Charlotte Dial-A-Ride. And we're so thankful to have that in our community. But it could be built out, and that is what the Dillon Consulting report said. It needs to be made more robust, perhaps. We would like to see the 48-hour ahead of time appointment that you need to make for a drive. Perhaps that could be cut down, but of course, it's very understandable with limited resources needing to schedule a driver and match it with the person who wants a ride. So that is a crucial service. There were 8,000 trips booked in 2019, according to the report through Charlotte Dial-A-Ride. So if you're just wondering how important this is, remember, to put it in perspective, the 2 years of the Rural Links bus program, it was about 3,300 trips in total over that 20 months. Whereas you have Charlotte Dial-A-Ride doing about 8,000 trips, reservation calls. Some of them get canceled, but they did 8,000 booked calls in the span of 1 year. So this is an integral, wonderful service in our community, absolutely necessary. And just like the other 2 I want to talk about tomorrow, Project Village and Kari, Kari, I like to add a little bit of European flair to it, I guess. Kari, rideshare, those are also important. But Charlotte Dial-A-Ride, because those have different I'd say maybe obstacles to people who don't drive or don't use an app. Charlotte Dial-A-Ride is easiest for folks to just pick up the phone, call the dispatcher, and get the ride they need. And as I was saying, all 3 of those sometimes feel like you wonder if they're going to continue. Now, Charlotte Dial-A-Ride has been around since 2005. They have a good model, but they do hit a ceiling in terms of how much they can offer, how much they can build that out. So that's super important in our community. Dillon Consulting said that it's integral to the full complement of public transport services to help people feel safe in our community. Ultimately, that is what we were talking about. People need to get around. People need to know they can get medicine, need to get to medical appointments, need to be able to get groceries or the food bank, wherever they need to get. People who cannot get around in our community is absolutely unacceptable for a safe and nurturing place to live. And that is why the Green Party and me as your MLA will make sure to continue as a priority to develop out these things. Because as I've said before, in this series on particularly the public transportation piece of public safety, if we only continue to make our communities more and more car-centric, it is favoring the wealthy. It costs a lot to have a car and to keep a car. There are plenty of people, as I mentioned before, in some reports, 25% of people in our community who don't have access to a car, and only 2% of actual car trips mobility transport is done without a car. So that leaves a whole segment of the population that are trying to get around in other ways. And we need to help those people as well, because as far as I'm concerned, the only best solutions are solutions that are for the common good, for everybody. And so tomorrow I want to talk about the amazing work of Project Village. And after that, Kari. I'm just going to call it Kari and not correct myself all the time. Okay. Thanks. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and I look forward to